right, once you have the basics of 1-point perspective down, there's some other fun things you can do with it. So essentially last time I showed you how to draw a cube in 1-point linear perspective. So I helped you locate the vanishing point, the eye level or horizon line, how to draw things like doors and windows on the faces of the cubes, make them look like buildings. And we just did a few fun things like what to do with the horizon line and if you need a large monster peeking over the edge. So now let's explore some other things you can do. So keep in mind, if something is moving into the distance, it goes to the vanishing point. If something is not moving into the distance, then it goes across like that. Now let's say you don't want a flat roof on your building. You'd like to put a peaked roof when it comes to a point. One way to do that is on the front, just draw that peaked roof. And then from this point, you are going to go back to the vanishing point, because this is vanishing into the distance. And again, I don't need the whole line. And then I'm going to take this angle, and I'm going to move it right here. Then I'm going to take this angle, and I'm going to move it right there. And then I get rid of, this is not a see-through roof. Great, none of my pencils work. There you have a peaked roof rather than a flat roof. Okay. Now, let's say you wanted to put an awning over this door. I would draw where I want the awning to come out from, and then even the front of the awning is going to go to there. A little roof or an awning is like a little cover over a door. Or if I wanted, let's say I wanted a sign on top of this building. I would draw the sides of the sign. Those are just straight up and down. And then the top and the bottom of the sign go to the vanishing point. Yeah. Sail. Now, let's say I'm going to put a building somewhere else, not on this road. So I'll put one over here. You draw it the same way. You're going to draw a rectangle or square. And then the side that's closest to the vanishing point is going to go to the vanishing point. And again, I line up my ruler. I don't need to draw the whole line. And then from this point also. And then I have to end my walls straight up and down and straight across. And again, I get rid of anything extra. So I can put one there. Remember, if you put one closer to the horizon line where the top of the building would go above the horizon line, so let's put one here. Then whenever anything you're drawing in 1-point perspective goes above the horizon line or above eye level, this is real close. So here, notice how when I try to go to this vanishing point, you wouldn't see the top. So then, line it up like that. And then again, end your building with a straight up and down line. So feel free to draw some other cubes or buildings that are a little farther away from your vanishing point. Adding things like, let's say I want a chimney on here. I'm going to draw the front of the chimney, just like normal. But then the sides and the top will go to the vanishing point. And once you get used to this too, sometimes people do, there's approximate linear perspective where I wasn't always exactly lining it up. Like right now I'm trying to make the chimney look like it's brick and a little bit shapen. And draw some smoke coming out of it. And again, any windows or doors, if I'm going to draw anything window-wise on the front, it is just vertical and horizontal, just like the wall it's on. You can always look at the wall you're drawing on, and if it's going to be on a section that goes to the vanishing point, you got to make it go to the vanishing point. Now let's say you want to draw a row of streetlights and get them to all be the right height. So we can try that. We'll put a streetlight here. So let's just start out by drawing a streetlight. So however you want your streetlight to look, I'll do one of these old-fashioned looking ones. Okay, so there's my first streetlight. So if you want to try this with me, you can draw whatever kind of streetlight you want. And then I'm going to do a row of them going back to the vanishing point. What I do is I establish the top of my streetlight and I line up with the vanishing point. I'm going to do a really light line. And then the bottom of my streetlight is right on the edge of my sidewalk. So I have a line. Now every streetlight, we got to remember, you want it to go straight up and down. So I'm going to just map out where they are by drawing some straight up and down lines. I don't want them in the middle of my street, so I didn't put any there. At this point, I can just, they're so small. I guess that's a street way back here. I thought that was a street. Trying to figure out what it was. Okay, so that establishes where all my street lamps are going to go, and then I just got to turn each one into a street lamp, which actually becomes easier and easier as I go back because they're so small that they're barely anything. And then at that point I don't need this guiding line here. That was just to help me know how tall to make them. And the same would be true of trees. So let's say I want a tree here. So you draw your tree that's closest to you. There's a tree. Now I decide all the other trees out here are going to be a similar height. And I want to know how big would these trees be. I'm going to draw a line and a line again to the vanishing point. I'm kind of avoiding, I don't need a lot of it because I don't want a tree in the middle of the street, I don't want a tree growing out of a house. And then I establish straight up and down lines where my trees are going to be. There's that line. Oops, I lost part of my line and I need it. Yeah, I didn't want to draw one in the street. So I can only fit a few in here because then I end up behind the building and I got buildings in the way. So I'll do 3 trees. So then I turn them into trees. And then I can get rid of whatever extra lines I had. So go ahead and try drawing some things that are like street lamps, trees, people. You could draw a person and then decide how big all the rest of your people are going to be heading off into the distance. So go ahead and try that. Okay, then other fun things to do that you can try out. You can start giving things actual architectural details and texture. You can decide what kind of trim will be at the top, what kind of trim will be. And if I'm working on the wall, again, now I'm not so worried. I've got the basic perspective going. I think I can start adding things to it, and I can get a feel for what it would look like. Anyway, so there's a point where I do abandon my ruler. I think about things like shadow, maybe. You know, here I've got the sun coming up here. Well, I could throw some shadows down for my trees. And again, the shadows are actually going to follow the same perspective. So you can try out some shadows. You can add fun details any way you want. You could draw, a building floating in the sky if you want. That would be very odd, but this is how you would do it. You would draw your building up here, and let's watch what happens. So I'm just drawing a rectangle, but notice it's above the horizon line. Same rules apply. Now I'm actually going to see the bottom of the building. So it's drawn in the same way, but there's a cube floating in the sky. And if you want to draw, well, let's say maybe I decide I don't want this to be a cube floating in the sky, I'd rather have it be a spaceship. I could fit it within the cube. I could decide what the spaceship might look like. I'm always drawing spaceships in the sky. And then I could erase the cube around it. I don't know if I needed that cube. But you can experiment around. That's what happens if you draw things above the horizon line. And then things way out, again, things way out on the horizon looks very small. That's extremely distant. So at this point, have some fun with it. See what you can do. Try it out. Try out different ideas. There are certainly various tutorials on YouTube about one-point linear perspective, and you can check out some other things people have done, and you can try it out. If you would like to try out two-point linear perspective, again, take a look. You can look online. You can look at some two-point linear perspective instructions. There are instructional videos on YouTube, and you can try some of those out. If you want to take a shot at three-point, again, see what you can find. But let's experiment with linear perspective.